Hey everyone, my name is Andrew Hess, and this is a 3-part video. We are on the 3rd part. The first part, we created a nice, beautiful form. The second part, we finished off the form, made colors, made sure it was accessible. And today, we're gonna make a beautiful, responsive gallery. Let's get into it, and let's finish off our Power App. All right, we're back to where we started off last week. So let's go over what we have again. I want to fill out a new line item anyways, just to add some more data in here. So let's see, I have one. Let's try it. Personal Finance AI Advisor. And it creates an AI-based financial advisor. And the proposal start date, let's just make it crazy. Let's do it on a Saturday. We're going to start this on Saturday. And so we have a nice responsive form. If you go to a different screen, it looks beautiful, nice, responsive. The pictures resize. We did not format this for tablet. So I didn't format this for tablet because no one at my work has a tablet. We could do tablet if we wanted to, so you can add that in there. And from the first video, we went over that, the different screen sizes, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, what we want to do is we want to view all the data. And this comes from a question directly from you. And that was, hi mate, what if we wanted all the data we entered to click upload and get shown on another screen of our app? How can we do that? Help me. Any help would be appreciated. To me, this question means, hey, we want a table or a gallery. And probably this is actually screen 1. So the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to go over different types of screens. There's a few different ways to do this. Actually, there's infinite number of ways to do this, right? So new screen, we have the header footer. Down below, if we look a little lower, we have approval request, welcome screen, header gallery. So that's useful. Header form. Header form, no, we're not going to use that. We have header and table, and then table and form. So I think the two that we really want to look at today are header and gallery. Let me just add that. And then another one, a new screen, was header and table. And so this is using Modern, right? We're in Modern right now. Let's go ahead and connect to our SharePoint list and look at all the data. With the form right now, 2025 at the start of it, I'm sure Microsoft is going to make changes, right? They make changes so much. This is the modern data table. And you can see that everything doesn't come over beautiful, like the multi-line text with HTTP in there. You see the div classes. That doesn't come over beautiful. Username doesn't come over beautiful. Status is all right, but there's no color. There's no design. It's just a table. So that's what I think about tables right now at the start of 2025. So let's take a look. When I press play and then you go to the phone, you notice that it changes, adds this little icon, gives little initials. So it looks nice. It's not bad. It's not perfect. For sure, it's not perfect. And it does say rows at the bottom. That's very nice. So this little rows calculation, I don't think you have to calculate the totals anywhere. That's really useful, right? Especially if you run into delegation issues. Well, we have the rows in there. That's nice. There's other things we can do in there. We can say, can you multi-select? So can you multi-select? It adds in the checkboxes. Wow. That's beautiful. That's a nice new feature. Thank you, Microsoft, for that one. So multi-select, sorting. You can, so automatically it comes with sorting. That's really nice. You don't have to do all this. The thing is you need to choose. Do you want to go full custom, or do you just want to throw a table in there? How much time do you have? Do you have multi-line text fields with HTML? Maybe you don't need this field. Maybe you just take this field out. And so you click on edit here and you take out project description. And now your table looks a little better, right? That's not bad. These are options you need to think about. I cannot tell you the way you should do it for your project. Once again, you need to gather requirements, figure out what you think is best for your project, and then design it. That's the data table. It comes with a header. We can see who's logged in up here, pictures. It's nice. It's really nice. I love the multi-select. I love that we automatically have checkboxes in there. And if you look at it on the phone, Oh, you can still see the checkboxes. Looks good. It kind of hides the images. And down here, you can go to different pages. Beautiful. This is really nice for low code, no code. But what if I want to customize more, right? I can't add buttons in here. I can't add a button inside my table, really. I mean, it kind of goes over here, but it's not in the rows. It does highlight the back with different colors. I like how it highlights it the light blue. That's something we would have to configure. But I'm going to remake this into a gallery. And this is where I'm going to get opinionated. Microsoft loves to have pictures in the galleries. And when I'm looking at data, my data doesn't always have pictures. Does my project proposal have a picture? Maybe there could be an attachment that we could drop in there. And this is where I become opinionated. I would like simple. I want simple. The object of this app is to work, not to make everything pretty. And so imagine you had 2,000 rows and you had to and you could only see 3 or 6 items at a time. I don't like it. This is not for me. Microsoft, this is not for me. But there are some things that we can learn from here. So first off, notice the wrap count, right? Let me move me again. Notice right here the wrap count. And here's another little tip. Now with modern, it didn't always work in classic, but you can click on the title like wrap count and it'll bring up the FX formula. You see that? So the FX formula is now showing. Now notice this formula. This formula is golden, right? We have if screen size 3, if it's equal to extra large, 3, this is actually the same as saying 4. And large is saying 3. All it's saying is when it gets smaller, show a different amount in the rows, right? So if we had in here, if everything was equal to 3, let's say it's just 3. So I'm going to cut that out. It's 3. When we go to the phone size, you can see it's trying to fit 3 in there. And we don't want that. And it's even like glitching out. It's so bad it's glitching out. We don't want the wrap count like that. Let's put that back in there. Let's go back to the wrap count of our gallery. It is valuable to use this equation though and learn how Microsoft does it. Now if we said, oh, it only equals 1, it only shows 1 at a time. But I also want you to look at another thing. Look down here again. And we have template size. So template size. Template, I want to say it's the first row, but it's not the first row. It depends on if you're doing horizontal or vertical containers. It's the first item in your gallery. So you notice it's right here. This is our first item. If we made this container larger, the width, you can see they have a nice big equation in here. So let's just say it's actually parent.width. It would take up the entire space, right? It's taking up the entire space, which is actually the same as parent.template width. The template of our container, and if we make this smaller, is right here in this, I say white space or blank space. This is our template. And you can see if you zoom in, and it's highlighted by this purple line. This is our template. And we can see our template size is 320. So if we lowered this to 40, you can see our first row is now that small. This is very important. And I'm really getting into the basics here, but I feel like we need to understand how the templates work. And then you have a template padding. So you could do 20 and you could make space in there between the templates. So you see the padding. So right here, if we zoom in, there's a padding here and there's a padding down here also. It's kind of a padding. I don't really use that much, but that is our template. And let's go back to our container. And let's paste the width back in and take a look at that. So if the screen size is equal to 4, then it's 1/3. If the screen size is equal to 3, then it's 1/2, 1/2 of the width. And if it's 2 or 1, it's parent.width. And so that's our resize. So I think what could help us is, instead of writing text here, let's write parent. Let's write parent.width and parent.width. And then let's also look at the screen size, and then screen.size and screen3.size. All right, so you see here, let's take a look at it. Let's go back to canvas. So at the canvas, the parent.width is 429 with a screen size of 4. Let's lower it. Let's go down to phone. The screen size is 1, and the parent.width got a lot smaller, right? So it got a lot smaller. We can go to tablet and check out tablet too. You can see a screen size of 2 here, and then if you find a bigger tablet, you get screen size .3. And the parent.width is changing as we resize it. So that's why I think it's very important to understand how Microsoft does this. Use the templates, find those equations in there. So just kind of go over this, kind of solidify this when you start learning. But for me, I don't like any of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this entire container. All right, so we can see I have this template in here. The template size, it's kind of large. If we look down here, it's 300. I'm going to make it 50, maybe a little bigger. Let's go 75. All right, so we see that my template here, this is the template, the first item. It's not always the first row, but the first item is right here. And you can see that the wrap count is a 1. So if we increase this to 3, right? So we'll have 3 templates in here. Let's add a text in here. You see how it kind of spreads out? That's all of my items in SharePoint, but it's doing 3 at a time in the template. And if you ever need to get in there and click on that template, normally, once again, it's the white space behind everything. It's the white space of your first item. And then you can change your wrap count down to. All right. So I'm going to delete that text here. This is how I'm doing it right now in 2025. I'm not saying it's the best way. A lot of people, a lot of YouTubers like, this is the best way. This is the only way to do it. This is how I like to do it. And so let's get to creating. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a container, not horizontal or vertical. And the X value is going to be equal to 0, right? I want it all the way over. And the width is going to be parent.width. So it takes up all that space in here, right? So we have a container in here that is not vertical or horizontal. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a horizontal container. And we want it all the way over on the X value, or maybe there might be a little space, but let's just do a 0 right now. And it is going to be parent.width also. All right, and I'll probably come over here and align and justify. Just make sure it kind of takes up all that space in here. And so we have container 7 above. I'm in the way again. We have container 7 here. I'll rename it to template or contain column container. Column. Column. This one is going to be template. So this one is my template size, my main template, and then I have my columns in here. And I'm going to add, how many columns do we want in here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to add 5 text fields. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so I have 5 text fields in there. And I'm going to click on the text fields over here on the left side. I'm going to hold down Control. I'm going to click on all of them, highlight all of them, and I am going to say flexible width. I want it to resize itself. All right, so they're now in there, a nice flexible width. They're resizing themselves. Now let's take a look at what happens when we go to phone. When I go to phone, it still fits all that in there. If you had a lot of text in there, it's not going to look good. This is how I like to do it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight these four. My four right texts. I'm going to go to visible property. And I'm going to do just like Microsoft did with their equations. If screen3.size equals 4, then they are visible. Else they're not visible. Only if you're on the largest size is it going to be visible. If I go to the phone size, you only see the first row. And the first row, I'm going to center it. So I'm going to align center and vertical align center. I'm going to put it right there in the center. Just like that. And then if we go to canvas size, we see everything. So this way we're still responsive. We're not making a huge mess. Next, what I want to do is I'm going to rename my screen. Instead of screen 3, let's say, what we say, all proposals screen. All right, so we renamed it. It's now called all proposals screen. And I'm going to delete this screen. This was our table. I want this image. I'm going to take this image. I want my background image. And I am going to paste it in on the top level of my page. I'm going to send it to the back. Reorder, send to the back. And then I want to make sure my screen container, I want it to be transparent. So I'm in the way. Transparency is this little button right here. I want it transparent. Okay. And then my template container, my CON, I'm in the way again. I don't know where to put me. I don't know where to put me. CON template right here. I want this to actually have some color. So the fill, so you can come here to fill, or we can go to the color here, custom. I'm going to go white and give it some alpha value in there, maybe a little bit, a little more. All right. I'm kind of liking how that looks. It's still kind of see-through. It's not distracting. Maybe a little bit more alpha value. Custom, give it a little bit more, make it a little more white. Okay. I like the way that looks. This is all just opinion. Now I'm going to go to this con template. And I like to do something that I don't see many people do. I like to add in my con template insert a button, but not the new buttons. All right. Microsoft made these new buttons and I don't like the way they look. I'm going to use the classic button. This is 2025, the start, and this is how I'm going to do it now. And I'm going to put this button over top my entire gallery, and I'm going to go to the color, the fill, and I'm going to make it transparent, or you could just change everything to 0. And then the HoverFill. The HoverFill, this is a property that I get in that button. I'm going to change it to, I like this RGBA. No color fade. I want it to be 0.2, the alpha value to 0.2. Now watch. Now, as I hover over, I get that blue color. Now you can change this if you want a purple. That's fine. It doesn't have to be blue. It can be, I'm not sure exactly what purple is, but hover color. So here, custom, let's find a purple. And let's make it slightly visible. So now we get that purple color. I like the look of that. Now, of course, you need to be accessible. You need to look up your colors. We talked about this last video. Do your secondary colors work with your tertiary colors? That's hard to say. Do your first colors work with your second and your third? Kind of make sure those colors work together. And the other thing was my project proposal. I want the fill of this up here. So the fill, there we go. All right, so now that blue matches. I have my purple. Maybe that purple is a little too bright. I'm getting opinionated. I just want this to look good. So the HoverFill, it's still a little too bright for me. Let's make it a a little more transparent. There we go. All right, so we have a beautiful gallery right now. We got it on the button that we have here. Let's remove the text. So there we go. Now we're highlighting each one. This is how I like to do it. This is the way I like to do it. Now let's start filling out these text fields. So text canvas, first is this item dot title. Then the next one, text is this item dot, what is it? Email status, user email. And we'll work on centering all this. I'll kind of center. And the next one, text is this item dot status dot value. And then we'll align it again, center. The next one is a multi-line text field. And so maybe instead of a text canvas, I'm going to delete it, actually. And in my container column, I'm going to add an HTML text. So this is an HTML text, and it's this item dot description, proposal description. That's looking better, but maybe I want this to take up more space. So over here, where I'm in the way, we have flexible width. Turn on flexible width and the fill portions, right? So we have 5 text fields in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe this one is 2 fill portions or 3. All right, so you can see how my HTML text fits in there. It's looking better. And then finally, I think the last one was the date. So we'll do the text, this item dot proposal start date. All right, and then we'll center it, align center, vertical align, middle. Now, if you see how this one fits in here, the first text value, maybe I'll turn off flexible width, and I'll say this one is a width of 300, and the X value is equal to 5, so I'll pull it off that edge a little bit. So there we go. So now everything's fitting in there nice and neat. This text is a little big, the HTML text. All right, so we align that in the center. We're looking better. Now, this is all opinion. You can design this how you want, but I like the way this looks. We have a blank value in here. I'm not sure why there's a blank. Let's make sure there's no blank. Oh, there's a blank value in my data. So let's delete that blank value. Okay, and then we'll refresh the data source. All right, so we remove that blank value. The container here, the main container, I'm going to make sure that there's no drop shadow. That looks good. Maybe this gap. I don't know if I like that gap there. There we go. I think that's looking better. We're looking pretty good here. I like the way this looks. You could probably do your headers up here. If you wanted to insert another container, so let's say we have our container template. We have our container, so I'm in the way. Let me move me. I have my container column down here. Let's add another container. And we have our gallery. This is our gallery. Let's add another container under screen container, and it's going to be horizontal. So horizontal container. And I'm going to move this one up. I'm going to reorder, move up. And I want it to be smaller. It's too big right now. So we can see that this container and this container have a fill portions on. So the fill portions of my bottom container, maybe I'll make it 8. Kind of pull that up there. Maybe it's even a 10. And you need to make sure that the minimum height right here where my head is. So right here where the minimum height is, you need to make sure that's pretty low. And then we can just start adding our text in here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now the first one, we'll just do the same as we did before. So in our gallery, the first one was the width was 300. So this width is going to be 300. So we could type in the number 300, or we can easily say, well, we have to open this up. We have to be able to see canvas 8. So this can be text canvas 8 dot width. This is probably the smarter way to do it. So for each of these, the width will be text canvas 9 dot width. Hold down Control, and on these 4, we actually had flexible width on. There we go. Now this next one, the width is Texas Canvas 9. This one, the width is Texas Canvas 10. And finally, this one is Texas Canvas 11 dot width. Oh, not text canvas. This is HTML text. HTML text 2 dot width. And let's just see this one. The fill portions was a 3. There we go. Things are lining up. And now we need our headers. So this one, the text value is proposal. And then let's work on, hold down Control. Then we can do the align in the center and the vertical line at the bottom. And then we probably want to give this container some coloring. Maybe even this one is not transparent. How about that? This one is not transparent. We'll work on the font size. So the font is a good bit bigger, maybe too big. And it is semi-bold. Maybe the font is a little too big. There we go. So now we have our title field. Now, I'm sure that you guys can make this more beautiful than me. I can't spend all that time on this video, or that's all we'll be doing is making things look beautiful. And there's other YouTubers out there that make things more beautiful than me. What about if, I'm just gonna come up with some ideas. This draft status button, let's turn this into a new button, but it's not a button. And this button is going to be this item. Oh, we gotta write it up in our FX formula. Is going to be this item dot proposal or title. Or no, this is this item dot status dot value. All right, and then I'm going to push this button over. So this button here is now going to move over, and I'm going to delete the text canvas 10. And then I'll fix this one to be button canvas 4 dot width. And let's make sure this button here is flexible width on. There we go. So now it's there. But the reason I used this modern button, now I do this all the time. I use things that Microsoft doesn't intend them to be used. The reason I did this is for the icons. And the icons that I can add here, I'm going to say, if this item dot status dot value equals draft, then what's the icon names? Let me get back in here. This is what I'm going to do. So if it's in draft, it's a circle. If it's submitted, it's a check mark with a circle. And then if it's approved, it's a check mark. So let's do that. If it's in draft, it's circle. Let's just make sure that works. All right, so if it's in draft, it's a circle. You can see that circle there. If it's this item dot status dot value equals submitted, then it's, I think it was checkmark circle, else it's checkmark. And we need another parentheses. There we go. So that's my equation. If this item is draft, it's a circle. If it's not a draft, then and if it's submitted, then it's a check mark circle. Else, it's a check mark for approved. And so now I've used that button, modern button, for different symbols. And I like the way that looks. Maybe it's the font color that changes it. It is the font color. So the font color, let me get my equation again. So my icon, the font color is now going to be, if it's draft, then it's in circle, it's color.white. If it is submitted and it's a checkmark circle, it's color. I don't know, Alice blue. I'm not sure what Alice blue is. Else, color.green. It didn't like that. So color.black. Let's try that one. Okay. And then the Alice blue. That's terrible blue. Azure. Color.aquamarine. Ooh, terrible. So you notice that in the themes, not all the colors are available. There we go. How about that? You can decide what colors you want them to be. The emails, we can easily change that to people's faces if we wanted to. But let me get on to the next part. And that is when I click on one, I then can edit. That's what we want to do. That's what I want to focus on now. And to do that, so let me move me. In our button here, right here, the button 4, which is this button here, on select, we want to select our gallery. So not select parent, because the parent is the container template right here. We're going to select the gallery. And we can, if we want to, we can say, for the fill property of container, or maybe even of the container. Right now it's like kind of translucent. We can say if this item is selected, then put in that color. Maybe make this a complete 1. So now we can see as we highlight. Maybe you can't see that. Let's change the color just so you can see. You can decide the colors as you want. Let's change the color to like maybe I'm too low. Let's try 2, 1. There we go at gray. So you can see that now it's selecting that item. Right? So now we're selecting that item with a gray. Maybe that gray, to me that gray is ugly. I want to get it to look better. Right now I'm just building this as we go. I'm not looking up the colors. You need to figure out if these colors are accessible. All right, so now that we're selecting each of these line items, now I want to go to the next screen. On the button click, on select, semicolon, I want to navigate to my other screen, which is project proposal screen on a fade. So let's click on one. We'll click on the approved one. When I come here, we want to make sure that all the default property values, the default property values are our gallery2.selected.title. Status, same thing. The default selected. So this one's a little bit different. Default selected item is the .selected.status .value, but this one probably is going to error out, right? Because it's looking for a record, and we talked about that. The value of it. Okay, see how I changed to approved? That's what we want. Now the description, the default value is gallery2.selected. All right, proposal description. All right, and then the start date, finally the default value. The selected date is actually proposal start date. There we go. We had an error just because of that, but it's all fixed now. All right, so now it's selecting everything we want. We need a button to go back. So in here in this screen, I need a button or an icon. I'm just going to do a back arrow because that's quick and fast for me. I'm going to push it on the left side. Get it where I want it to be. Give the color a white. Get it off that edge a little bit. It needs some padding on the left, maybe 5. There we go. So now our button here doesn't do anything. Let's have it navigate back. So this icon is going to navigate to our all proposals screen on a fade. All right, so now we go back. You probably want to do a pop-up, right? You might want to do, are you sure you want to go back? You might lose your saved data. There's all kinds of options, but now you can click on one. It goes to approved. You can click on one. This one's the draft. And we don't, so this is something that I was skipping in my last video. So I'm going to take the time and walk through this. I feel like this question came up a lot. And in here, in this top bar, in my header container, I'll delete their header and I'll go to my other screen and I'll grab my other header. So I'll grab this header right here. I created one myself manually. And I will paste it in my header container. And now I can take my buttons and let's see here. This header container, it's not going to have that icon. It's not going to have this button. The text canvas is going to say list of proposals. So watch this. In our text, right here in our text, it's this item.title. But what we can say is if, then it's this item.title. But if it's smaller, then it's this item.title and a space and this item.status.value. And we can do a new line. So here we go. Instead of the space here, I believe what you could do is you could say character 10. I think character 10 will put it on a new line. There it is. It's actually this item.status.value and then the title. Oh, this item.title. There we go. So now we can see draft, approved, We could probably, make some things bold, make things pop out. That's all up to you. But now the next thing is we don't have a new form button. And we don't have, this is where I kind of skipped before. We don't have a way to tell it if it's a new form or not. This is most important. If you are at the very end of this video, this is the question I get asked the most is how do I get it to show a new form and how to do it edit? And to do that is a global variable. Now, if I navigate to this screen and select my button, I'm going to set variable form mode, maybe not variable form mode. Mode is fine, I guess. Variable form mode to edit, right? So I am setting a variable. I am setting a variable to edit mode. And now I want an icon that's intuitive. Download down. A plus. I think the plus is a good one, right? Plus add document or the plus. Let's do plus document. Let's make it white so we can see it. And this one is going to do the opposite. It is going to set our form mode to new. And it's going to navigate to our project proposal screen. So now when I click on this button and I do new, the default properties, if variable form mode is equal to new, then blank, else it's our default property. So we want to do that on every single one because we're doing a custom form. This question I get asked so much, and this one is value is blank. There we go. So that one, you got to make a record. The value is blank. Or you could even set it up to draft, right? The default is draft. I think that's better. Now this one, if it's new, then it's blank, ending parentheses. This one, if it's new, then it equals to today. Ending parentheses. So now we have our default setup. If I click on new, it brings up a new form. That's what we want. If I click on one of these items, it allows me to edit the form. Now you need to update your save button. The save button doesn't know the difference between the two, right? You see how we're patching the save button? We're patching. Now we have to update our save button. And we have to do the same thing. If we're in form mode new, we're going to patch like that. If we are not in form mode new, then we are going to patch our update. And that is our property right here. And this is our gallery2.selected. So this, if we're in form mode new, we're going to create new. If we're not in form mode new, we're in edit. We are going to update the gallery2 item that we have selected. There we go. Now let's double check, make sure everything works. If I come in here and I say that grabs all weather and I hit save, and we want to make sure when I hit save, it navigates me to my other screen. After I reset everything, then I navigate to my all proposals screen. The final thing I do, and then probably on a fade. That's the final thing that I do. So now all weather, save, navigates back. It's already updated here. We can look at SharePoint. You notice it's not here yet. It's kind of refreshing, it says. We give it a refresh or reload, and now it says all weather. It took the update. Now let's create new. This is a new item. Test, save, then creates a new item. You can see it down here at the bottom. Give SharePoint a refresh. We then have our new item. This is a full, complete app. How to create a form. It's responsive. We have beautiful highlights. We can see different things that are selected. I showed you how to do the selection property. Maybe you don't want the selection. I did some cool tricks with the button here. I like how the HoverFill works with the button. We have it fully responsive. So if we go to our canvas size, it's fully responsive. We have different colors for status. We used a button here to show our status. We can add one more line item. Let's add one more. I just want to see the scroll bar. I want to see that scroll bar. I click save. I now have a scroll bar. This is how I like to see it. I can see all the data. I can go back and click new. It's cleared out. This is a wonderful power app for me. I hope this was helpful. Now that you have the basics, now you can make things better than me. And I love seeing it. I don't mind. If you have better tricks, feel free to leave a comment. Show me your tricks. Tell me where I'm wrong. Tell me you don't like using this. I don't mind. Let's learn together. Let's learn together as a community, and we're all going to get better together. Thank you all for watching. My name is Andrew Hess, and I'll see you next time.